down and talk to my wife and see, like, what do you think? And she says, well, what do you think? Can you handle it? You know, because it is a full-time job and it's with the law firm. So I'm at a crossroads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You like that chair? You want another chair?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not that far down, I think. Whoa.
You're hot.
I'm good. I'm good. I like to sweat, but the parking, I was just thinking back to the parking. I would have been here earlier, but that's all right. Sylvia,
Okay.
buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
And thank you for being
It's
part of
filming?
this Monday.
It's filming?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll edit the rest of the part. We started a Sembradores de Aztlan oral history project in 2011. And this is a continuation of that project. Basically, what we found out in doing field studies is that there weren't enough documentary filmmakers that were recording our history. So we're kind of doing reconstructive work in a sense. So our topic today is going to be focused on your participation with the Becas para Aztlan scholarship program. I was a part of that in 1982, as you already know. And I want to begin by asking you, how did you learn about the Becas program?
Well, I was working at Para la Gente, a Chicano newspaper at the university,
Okay.
with Dr. Armando Gutierrez and also Romeo Rodriguez and Bobby Majani. And they were part of the organization, or founders of the Becas para Aztlan, along with Jose Gutierrez. And so through them, and they advertised, and I applied, and my sister also, Sylvia Orozco, applied. And I think basically it was for people in the medical field, but because they had, I think, 20 scholarships per year, or 50 scholarships per year, there weren't enough applicants, so they asked people in other areas to apply, and so I went ahead and applied, and I got it.
Okay. Contextualize for us where you were at when that application process took place, where you learned about it, and what year was that?
Well, I guess that was the year, that was 78? No, well, I was right in the middle of it, because
Yeah.
I was working in the office
Okay.
of Para la Gente,
Okay.
and so we talked about it all the time. It was in
Okay.
the newspaper, Para la Gente, and I was part of the Raza Unida party at that time, and part of the promotion of, I guess, third-party politics, and knew about all the different programs. And so I was right there. I guess I was at the right time, there at the right place at the right time.
Okay. Okay. With regards to qualifications and the criteria that you were made aware of with regards to applying, what qualifications do you feel that you had with regards to getting that scholarship?
Well, I think I had all the qualifications. The only one was that, in the beginning, was that I wasn't going to study medicine. But the idea was that it was for Mexican American Chicano students who wanted to continue their graduate work, but then to come back and to help the community, and people who had had a track record of working in the community. And I was at the university, and in the field that we could, I mean, what we could, because we were students, and you know, you're not really within the community, you're at the university and kind of on the borders of the community, but what we could, we would work with the community in organizing exhibitions, or I was also part of Lucha at that time, League of United Chicano Artists, and so, and also helping at the newspaper. I was a photographer, and writing and all those kind of things. So I think those were the basic requirements. I mean, you had to be a good student, you had to have all the academics, and that was a requirement.
Photography is not an area that I was aware of that you practiced for a while.
Yeah, I still do a lot of photography. I don't publish it anywhere, but both for documentation, some is art, some is just documentation.
So this organization, Lucha, did it start here in Austin, or where did it start? And what year are we talking about?
Well,
when you were
Lucha was founded, I think, in 1976 by other Chicano artists here in Austin, including Amado Peña,
Okay.
and they were active in creating the League of United Chicano Artists. Is multidisciplinary, and they had their office based at Juarez Lincoln University.
Okay.
And they had a small gallery, and so I was also part of MAS, Mujeres Artistas del Suroeste, with Santa Barraza and Modesta Treviño,
Okay.
and we would organize the exhibitions also.
Okay. And is Lucha still active?
No,
Okay. And you said MAS,
MAS,
you mentioned, is it still active?
no.
Okay. Briefly speaking, maybe you may or not know the answer, but why do you think those organizations ended? Do you know, do you have inside information of why they ended?
Well, I think, an organization, whether nonprofit or profit, requires a lot of work and resources.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have either one. You have to keep, if you don't have resources, you can't keep working because you have to find other jobs to, make a living or whatever. So
Okay.
I think basically that's it. It's not so much interest, but, people have to make a living.
Yep.
And if they can't get the resources to support what they want to do.
So MAS,
And also people move away or they continue on with their professional
mobility,
careers.
yeah. So MAS started when, Sylvia?
Probably in this, I don't know, like 77 or something,
Okay.
like that. It
Okay.
was basically Santa Barraza
Yep.
and Modesta Treviño. We had a studio on 6th Street, and we would paint together and meet. And yeah, there's research on MAS and things.
Okay.
People have written articles.
Okay, so the research, we could find it like at the local library here at the UT, for example?
Some are, Modesta Treviño has a lot of information.
And where does
She's
she live?
Here,
Okay.
and out by Kyle.
Okay.
She's kept a lot of the archives.
So maybe you can share
Sure.
her email. I'd like to contact her about that. Why was the Becas program important to you?
Well, I think the Becas program probably, basically, I do give it credit for changing my life in that it gave me a passage or a way to go to Mexico, because I had applied. I was going to go to graduate school, and I had applied to the University of Texas, and I did get in. And at the same time, I applied to the Becas program, and I got that program. So I got to choose. Like choosing if there's a fork in the road, which way do you go?
Yeah.
And so I chose to go to Mexico. It seemed a lot more exciting. And as an undergraduate, even in high school, I always wanted to do studies abroad program. I had like a little notebook. I had a lot of programs that I had kept, notes on that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to go beyond, the little town where I grew up. And my mom and dad had always talked to me about Mexico and all the different things there, and I had never experienced that. So, I mean, we basically grew up with. We didn't have a car until we were in high school, or a telephone. We had a black and white TV with 2 channels. So my world was basically, Fuero, Texas, and the stories that my family told us, and what I saw in books. I'd never been to a museum till I went to college. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to see other things and learn about other things and learn about my culture.
Okay, and I'm smiling because I see you light up when you mention Mexico and your study over there, because I'm sure you had a lot of great time there, as well as getting into the academics. So you actually start the Becas program in 78, you said?
In 78.
78, okay. Was that during the fall, during the summer? When did you start?
Well, I went down in August of 1978,
Okay.
and I put all my art supplies in a trunk.
You drove?
No, we flew.
Oh, you flew.
From San Antonio, but the trunk, I remember having to go get the trunk. I got stuck in customs.
Yeah.
Because it had paint in it. But anyway, so I was part of the program, and we arrived, and I don't know about your experience, but we arrived and lived in a hotel for like 3 weeks. 20 of us, or I don't know, 30 of us lived in a hotel.
¿En la Zona Rosa?
No, en el Diplomático, por
Okay.
Insurgentes.
Okay.
And basically, they were trying to find universities for us. Well, mine was easy because I was an art student and went to San Carlos, UNAM. But the other students, it was a bit more difficult because they were medical students,
Yep.
and to get placed in a medical school because there's a lot of competition, even nationally. It's really hard to get into medical school.
Right.
There's only a few counted. They call it plazas.
Right.
So it took a while to get people in there. And at the same time, we had orientation with CONACYT in the beginning, but then afterwards, we just kind of were in the hotel.
Yep. The same thing happened for our group. We had to stay at a hotel in the Zona Rosa in downtown while we found a place to rent.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was 6 women. We rented a house. We got together and rented a house in Colonia Country Club in la calle Tenis.
Okay.
And we lived there.
Tennis as in?
Right. Every street had a different sports.
Yeah.
Baseball,
Okay.
football. We were on calle Tenis.
Okay.
And yeah, it was pretty interesting because in the beginning we were the first ones to find a house, and so kind of like all the women, we all moved there, but some of the guys they hadn't found a place yet. They kind of were camping out in the living room.
Okay.
We didn't have furniture, and then it became kind of the center for all the groups. And I know anyway, that was kind of all interesting.
So you weren't in the summer program, you were in the long-term program, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And was that strictly master's work that you were doing?
Yes.
Okay. So UNAM was where you studied as well as San Carlos.
Well, San Carlos is the physical place. It's called, I guess that's the nickname because that was the name. San Carlos, the Academia San Carlos is the oldest art school in the Americas.
Right.
It's more than 200 something years old. But it's affiliated with the National University. So any undergraduate program or graduate program is an official program of the National University, Autonomous University.
If you could, Sylvia, describe a typical day when you're already registered, when you're already attending classes, and so forth. Describe a typical day from the point that you leave your rented home apartment.
Well, I think first it'd probably be more interesting to describe before. Just trying to get to start college was a bit difficult. Because, well, first of all, coming from a little town, I didn't know what the Zócalo was or what San Carlos was. And, we were in the south part of Mexico City. And the subway is the Blue Line. And so I had to come from the Blue Line, which was General Anaya, was the metro stop, to the Zócalo. Okay, so I asked everyone, well, where is San Carlos? They said, well, it's in the Zócalo. And so, what's Zócalo? And I said, well, the Zócalo. And so then I went on the subway, and when I got to the subway, got out, and when you exit the subway, all of a sudden you're in the Zócalo, which is a gigantic plaza that's about 8 football fields wide.
Oh yeah.
And seeing the colonial buildings and the National Palace, the church, all of that. I always say I felt like a groundhog, like coming out of the ground and all of a sudden seeing the world, because I had never experienced that. And then walking down Moneda, I can still see those images today. The buildings I don't see them as slanted now, but I saw them all slanting like that and moving, and millions of people everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And from all kinds of different cultures, and I felt like I was in, all these different time zones simultaneously, almost like a Fellini movie, and then getting to San Carlos. And then, because the school, it takes a while to start, and then there were a lot of protests and huelgas, and whether it was the student protest or the trabajadores protest, or then we had as soon as I walked in, all the art students that were painting gigantic signs and murals because they were going to go protest it was the anniversary of the 76, the 68 murders, student murders
In
of the Tlatelolco.
Mhm.
And so I just jumped in. I was one of them, right?
Mhm.
And so then they told us we were not supposed to be in the protest
Mhm.
because we were international students.
Mhm.
But anyway, so I was with the murals. I was with the mural class, and they were all the most, I guess, radical ones. Or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we were painting the mural signs, and
Mhm.
there was political activity at the
Yeah.
same time. And so anyway, so then I started the art school,
Mhm.
and the art school was very different from the art schools here,
Mhm.
because here, and I remember asking my